Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 15 CDs of the Belcea Quartet on Alpha. Everything that they did for the label between, what was it, 2001 and 2000 and something or other, 18, 19, somewhere around there. And most of it's pretty wonderful, I have to say. Initially, I was a little put off by this quartet. Well, they started on EMI, and they did some cool stuff. They did a Bartók cycle that was very good. They did some Brahms that was very good, and a Debussy Ravel Du Dia disc, which didn't quite thrill me. But they are a fine modern quartet. I mean, the technical level of their playing is extraordinarily high. But their Beethoven cycle, which is, of course, the linchpin of this particular box, the first 8 CDs, didn't really thrill me. And the reason it didn't thrill me is because I found their performances to be technically very adroit, of course, as so many of them are these days. I mean, everybody plays really well, but lacking in a certain depth, in the ability to relax into the music. It was high voltage Beethoven. And with zippy tempos in the allegros, but the slow movements in the late quartets I thought were very beautiful, but lacking in respiration, in that sort of vocal quality that groups like the Vague Quartet or the Quartetto Italiano or the older quartets I think seem to understand very well. They're not bad performances, of course. They're very good performances, and some people were really enamored of them, but I wasn't one of them, and so that's me. I mean, it might just be me, but there's no questioning the quality of the performances per se. You also get the Brahms string sextets, and they are marvelous. It's with let's see who's playing alongside them: Tabia Zimmerman and Jean-Guyen Queyras on cello. Oh wow, do they do beautiful Brahms? All of their Brahms is first rate. They recorded a couple of Brahms quartets, remember, before on EMI, and those were excellent. They were reviewed by Dan Davis for ClassicsToday.com. You can go look at that review, and they very favorably. They get Brahms really, really well. In fact, the qualities that I sort of didn't like in the Beethoven seem to work really well in Brahms, because there is a lightness, a fleetness, a transparency of texture, and a lack of strain, which I think works really well in Brahms. Beethoven needs a little bit of strain. He needs a little bit more, grinding and accent than these guys seem to be willing to indulge in. But in Brahms, you're dealing with contrapuntal clarity of line and the sort of you want these aerated textures, because the music itself is very dense. It really is, especially in the string quartets. So you've got, really fine performances of the sextets, terrific versions of the quartets, an excellent piano quintet in F minor with Till Fellner playing the piano. He's absolutely terrific, beautiful. Then you've got Berg, Webern, and Schoenberg chamber music, which consists of, the Schoenberg is Verklärte Nacht, the sextet version. And the other things, let me tell you what they are. It's the Berg Quartet. And what was the Webern thing? It just went out of my head. The slow movement, Langsamer Satz, and the 5 pieces, Opus 5 for string quartet. The Berg isn't the quartet. It's the lyric suite. Yes, it's the lyric suite. That's what it was. Now I got it. Very, very well done. Also, for the same reason, frankly, the Brahms is so good. All of those qualities are working really well at the second Viennese school. And then Shostakovich, third quartet, the piano quintet, which are very, very fine. Who's playing in the Shostakovich? Piotr Andrzejewski, I believe. Yes, is in the quintet. And Antonio Meneses is the cellist in CD 13, which one? That was the Berg one, Schoenberg one. It's like there's other people in here. And all the guests are really, really good. So that's a nice disc of Shostakovich stuff. I would have wished that they did more, frankly, because I think they understand the clarity and purity of line, which is what Shostakovich is all about in his quartet writing. And then CD 15 is the same as CD 12. They both have the Janáček quartets, which I've saved for last. I'll accept that CD 15 has the Ligeti string quartet, his first string quartet, and the Nocturnal Metamorphoses. It's very interesting that they did the Janáček quartets twice in like 7 years. I said 2001, I think, when they were starting. I think it was 2011 actually. And they did the Janáček quartets then, and then like 7 years later they did them again. And they knew they were doing them again in 2018, back in 2001, according to the notes here, 2011, whatever it was. They knew they were going to revisit them and record them, which I find very, very strange. But the performances are different enough to sort of justify it. The first version of the Janáček quartets are, which you might call more Brahmsian, very, very passionate, very dense, very emotionally sort of hard on sleeve. Of Janáček is, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the passion has to be there, no matter what. But they are in your face Janáček quartets. They really tear at you, which they should. They really should. The remakes, I liked even a little bit more, not because they were less passionate. They're not. Don't get me wrong. In some points, the tempos may be even more contrasty. But the sonics are very different. The recorded ambience is different. It's lighter. It's less up close. It's less claustrophobic. There's more air in the texture, and I think it really helps the music a lot. It makes it even more exciting, and I think it gives it a little bit more color and a little bit more vividness for you to be able to sit back a little and have the vision of the quartet spread out on the soundstage in front of you. But they're both really good. I mean, the Ligeti is wonderful, but the Janáček stuff is fine versions of those quartets. I mean, they're, on the one hand, they're easy to do because they're just so emotionally let it all hang out, right? But on the other hand, they're difficult because they encourage a variety of interpretation which can work against the music as often as for it, depending on what the group does. And some of them are just, some performances wind up being so unidiomatic and unconvincing. I don't know, it's interesting how they wind up one way or the other. But these folk, they get it. They get Janáček, and they play the quartets twice extremely well. I don't know if you need two versions of the Janáček quartets with this group, but there it is. So you've got a Beethoven cycle that I find somewhat unnecessary. They would disagree, and many others would too. And everything else, which is pretty terrific, especially the Brahms and especially the Janáček. So, I mean, this is a keeper for me. I think there are some really beautiful performances in here. And who knows, the Beethoven may grow on me as time goes on. I've got to give the late quartets a little bit more time, maybe to sink in. The Opus 18s go very well. The Razumovskys I find not big enough, not grand enough. They're just tidy. But I could be wrong. I doubt it, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Chamber music, folks. Take note and give it some thought. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.